In this episode of the Elgato Flashback Podcast, we're talking Stream Deck Mobile 2.0, Stream Deck 6.3, 6.4, I guess 6.2 in there, Discord plugin changes, Camera Hub 1.7 and 1.8, Wavelink 1.8, Marketplace, TwitchCon Las Vegas, and a bit of Prompter and the reactions to that. Welcome, Phil. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Brett.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Happy to be here again.
I'm tired from TwitchCon still. Has it been long enough?
No, I think we're all still feeling it just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Not enough time.
So as we're recording this, that was just over a week ago, I think, since we came back.
Correct. Yeah, we got back on Monday of last week. So it's just a little over a week of winding down, essentially, if you've been able to wind down.
So what we've done, just one episode so far. So we've introduced Phil, technical marketing manager. But who are you, Chris? What do you do?
Hi, my name is Chris McNamara, and I am the technical marketing specialist on the technical marketing team under Phil. So I'm on Phil's team. I work with you, Brett. I work with Phil. I work with James as well on our team. I handle a lot of the training materials and one-pagers and reviewers guides and a lot of marketing materials that deal with sort of trainings and general information about our products, and also the project manager on the Discord plugin.
That's a sneak peek at what we'll be talking about.
Exactly.
Well, I think I just sneaked it already. And my name is Brett, technical video producer. Basically, I think what's on my Twitter profile is professional tutorial maker, which these days is pretty accurate. Yeah, Stream Deck Discord plugin. There were some changes with the 2.0 launch, which for full context here, it's been a busy year. The Discord plugin 2.0 is not brand new as of this recording. It was when exactly?
It launched May 24th, 2023. So
was it in May?
It was in May. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's got some miles on it, but I'm happy to announce that all of the fine tuning and bug fixes are finally coming to an end, and we have already started planning for version 2.1, if you want to call it, introducing new features, which I'm excited to talk about. But I think we're going to talk about just some of the new actions that were added in 2.0 and kind of glance off them a little bit.
Cool. Yeah, when you said May, I was thinking, when people say 2005 was 45 years ago, that whole thing.
May 2023 was decades ago, it feels like.
Yeah. Yes, what was new in the 2.0 update?
Yeah, so when we launched 2.0 for the Discord plugin, soundboards had just come out. So we were planning on introducing some new things for the Discord plugin, regardless of soundboards. And as we were planning for it, soundboards were released. So one of the things we made a note of is we need to get soundboard integration. It works perfectly with Stream Deck and Discord, and we hit the mark. We got the integration. All of your custom emojis that you assign to your soundboards can be featured right on your Stream Deck, and you can trigger your favorite Discord soundboard sounds just with the tap of a key. Know your friends, know your meetings. We have a lot of fun with it here at Elgato, and it's super innovative because it directly integrates. There's no hotkeys, there's no shortcuts. It's a direct integration between your Discord and Stream Deck, and kind of furthers that relationship between Discord and Elgato.
If I remember correctly, that was sort of wasn't that a little bit of a lucky thing? It was just, oh, hey, we're working on this anyways, and we just hit up Discord and we're like, hey, you guys are doing soundboard. We have a thing that you can tap to execute a soundboard, right? Wasn't there something like that? If I remember correctly, again, it's been a little bit.
You hit the nail on the head. We were planning 2.0, and soundboard integration or soundboard actions came out in Discord. The soundboard triggers, and we kind of hit up Discord and we're like, hey, we're planning this 2.0 update to the Discord plugin. Soundboards just came out. how can we work together? How can we get, direct integrations with Soundboard? And so we worked hand in hand with them, and yeah, it just kind of worked at the end of the day.
And I think I can't even talk anymore. I think we're still the only device that does it at the moment.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
the power of Stream Deck right there. Of course,
Power
you
of
can trigger them via hotkeys, but it's just not the same.
Of course, yeah. You trigger them via hotkeys, of course, but you don't get, the custom, emoji that you assign to that soundboard sound within Discord. Stream Deck, the Discord plugin pulls that emoji, that emote from Discord, assigns it to your soundboard action. Every soundboard action has its own emote that then reflects into Discord, and it pulls the name of the sound for the soundboard as well. So there's that direct integration. There's no kind of easy way around it.
Yeah, and you also, I mean, the UI for it turned out really nice as well, that you can just, in the property inspector, just see all the sounds that you have set up or all the different sounds that are in a server, and then, or you can even search for it, I think, right? Wasn't that one of the other
Yep. Absolutely.
Features that you can just, because I'm in tons of servers, and at this point, I have no idea how many, I have way too many sounds. So
I thought you were going to use a
functionality is really
soundboard when
nice.
Chris was talking about
No.
it.
Yeah, we could do this, hit him with the Jeff high, and then it pops up.
We'll have to put that into the podcast, right?
We
You have to
will,
edit
yeah.
that in.
Through the magic of editing,
Through the magic of editing by
I will
Brett.
directly integrate that sound effect into the podcast.
Perfect. But yeah, it's super cool. It's super fun, and you can have a lot of fun with it. And that was like the kind of the keystone integration for that plugin when it came to releasing 2.0 was the soundboard integration.
But that wasn't the only. Those weren't the only changes. I think the 2.0 update really, I mean, 2.0 is the name, but it was almost like a relaunch of the Discord plugin. I mean, it went from having just basically a couple things in it to, well, like an incredible new list of actions that all are super integrated, super dynamic. So what else did we, what else was added?
Yeah, there were 8 new actions, and then an update to the voice channel action. So we have, we had soundboards, what we just talked about. We also have select audio device, which allows you to switch between, your microphone and or speakers with the tap of a key. So if you use your headset for something specific, or you are just listening to your buddies talk, you can just change your audio, your audio device with the tap of a key. We have server stats, which are really cool. You set, everyone's got their favorite servers, the server you're in the most every night talking to your buddies, or if you have a work server, you set one of the keys to display your server, and then it gives you information like recent messages. So when your server, when there's a conversation, the amount of current online users or recently online users. So you can kind of choose which one you want to have displayed. And, active chatters. So exactly when your server is popular or there's an active conversation going on. We also have the toggle voice input mode, which allows you to toggle between push to talk or kind of voice sensitivity when your mic gets picked up. So, if you have kids or you have a dog and you want to swap over to push to talk really quickly, you can just hit a Stream Deck key, and now you're on push to talk. And then once everything calms down, hit your Stream Deck key again, and now you're back on voice activity. And all of these actions have their own custom icons made, so they're really, really apparent on what you have enabled and what's on at the moment. And then you can see, oh, I'm on push to talk. Oh, I'm on voice activity. And then it displays it right there on Stream Deck. We also have the user volume control. So if you have a buddy, I think everyone has that one friend when they're playing their favorite FPS, like it gets really intense and they start screaming, he's behind you, he's behind you. You can edit his volume on the fly or their volume, and make sure that they're not blowing out everyone's eardrums when they're trying to get that ace or, that ultra kill or whatever you're playing,
or if they're backseating you,
or if they're
just go all the way to 0.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That one
That
also lights up, right? I think if there's voice activity, like if that
correct.
user is
Yep.
talking, then that actually lights up right on the key or on the dial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really cool. So if you're familiar with our wavelength updates where we introduce kind of the sliders on your Stream Deck keys, the circle of the fader will actually be your that person's Discord icon. So if I was to take Brett, for example, Brett's got his beautiful face right on Discord. It would just be Brett's face just right there on my Stream Deck, sliding up and down when I'm editing his volume. And then when they talk, it would light up green, so you know who's
Yeah, the
got the
little
hot mic.
outline.
Exactly. Yeah. A couple more. We have self volume control, kind of same thing as other user volume control, but for yourself. If someone says, "Hey, Chris," "Hey, Phil," "Hey, Brett," you kind of you're a little loud, or you got a little bit of a hot mic. You don't have to go into the settings and then drag the slider for your volume control. You can just change it right there on Stream Deck if you know you have like a little sweet spot of volume that you like to hover around. And the updated action was to the voice channel action, which allowed you to instantly join a voice channel of your choosing. Again, similar to like the server stats, it will be customized to that server's icon and give you a little bit of information about that specific voice channel. So while yes, you can still tap it to join that voice channel, also now we update it with a kind of a dynamic view. So when you're in that voice channel and there's a bunch of people in there, very similar to the user volume control, the everyone that's speaking will have a little bauble of their Discord kind of profile picture. And whoever's talking, they'll kind of rearrange, kind of like a very active little room of chatters. So the person that's actively chatting will jump up front, and then everyone will kind of come down. And then as everyone's talking, they'll kind of dip in and out. And so it's really cool. It's really cool to see when you have 4 or 5 people in a channel, and that key is just changing nonstop. It just gives a little bit of life to your Stream Deck, and also allows you to again see if someone does have a hot mic or who is currently muted. All of that stuff is displayed right there on the keys.
I mean,
And then
it's like the
go ahead.
perfect example of what kind of one of the core pillars of Stream Deck is that, you can use the keys to these LCDs to look at them and instantly get visual information, even if you might not
Exactly.
have it up on your display at the moment, or you're kind of
Hmm.
doing something else, but you can just look right at it. Okay, this person's talking, or this is their level, or, I've got this many notifications. You don't need to take up your valuable screen real estate. I think it's basically like the showcase plugin at this point for that functionality.
Absolutely. It goes down that line of yes, Stream Deck is great for just tapping and triggering an action, but also Stream Deck is a great tool just to get kind of that passive info and just kind of see data on your Stream Deck as it is provided to you, whether it's through notifications or through your server's activity and stuff like that. And then having that right there in front of you, you know what's happening without having to, like Phil said, alt tab, take up screen real estate, all that stuff. It's really quite amazing to see it active on Stream Deck. I have an Excel, and I have a whole folder of just a bunch of different servers that I can just join and see what's going on in at the same time.
It took me a little while to begin using using that particular feature of joining particular not channels, servers or channels inside of
Hmm.
the servers.
Yeah, the voice channels.
Because I do have a lot of servers on my list, and I use folders occasionally, but it was just kind of maybe not muscle memory, but I'm just so used to going into Discord to changing it. But yeah, once I set up a line of my most common voice channels to join, it
Hmm.
made things a lot easier. Because when
Yeah.
someone says, "Hey, you up for games?" push the button, you're immediately in there, and then when they join, you say, "What took you so long?"
I
So
messaged you 20 minutes ago.
it's a
Yeah.
real
You
power move.
messaged me. Yeah, exactly. And then we also have, a couple smaller things. There was the notifications action that is just kind of general notifications. So if you get, if any of your servers are unmuted and you're kind of following them, you get the Discord like pings in your ear whenever someone posts in them, or you get, added like at, your Discord name. The general notifications action will kind of just display an increasing number of how many notifications you have. And also, when you do get added or pinged, the notifications action will actually light up for a few seconds to who pinged you. So I use it. I actually use it quite a lot. So if I'm gaming and I'll hear a ping in my ears from Discord, I'll just glance down real quick at my notifications, key, or the key that the notifications action is assigned to. And if it is someone that I know and I should probably look at their message, I then make a mental note like, oh, so and so messaged me, whether it's a significant other, or I know a really good friend, or even if it's a work colleague, I can probably say, oh, yep, I just saw their little Discord profile picture. I know that's them. I should probably alt tab as soon as I have a chance, whether I'm respawning or the game's over. But then you also see, like, look down. Oh, I don't know that profile picture. That's probably maybe just someone new to the server, or someone just sending me a DM. And you can kind of put it out of sight, out of mind until you get to it. So that's another cool kind of passive action there. But you also can just tap the key that it's assigned to, and it will bring up Discord and bring you right to that notification. So that's also, like, there's that passive / active use to this action particularly, but a lot of the actions, while they have that passive aspect to it, like Brett said, there's that aspect of having that info from your server, but then being able to just tap into it, and it will bring that Discord server right up to the foreground of your Discord interface and user interface.
Yeah.
And you're right there, and then you see what's going on, what's happening, who pinged you. So yeah, there's a little bit of mixture of that passive and that active action there.
Yeah, there's
just
actually
thinking,
a lot going. Oh.
I was trying to think of what we could apply the term user face to as a product.
Yes.
It's like Facecam. There's a lot going on under the hood though for this plugin, right? Because I mean, all of these icons are being generated on the fly, right? Like, we don't just have PNGs of everyone's faces on there. I mean, every time someone's talking, lighting up, shuffling users around when they're chatting, and like who's active in a channel, all of that stuff is being generated on the fly, which is, again, really, really cool. So this is a huge update.
And it's something that, when you download the action or the plugin for the first time and start putting actions on your Stream Deck, it has the direct connection into your Discord. So it will say, hey, connect your Discord. Within Discord, you'll have to click a little checkbox. Yes, I approve. I allow, Stream Deck to access the Discord, and bam, now Discord and Stream Deck are now talking to each other. And it's real flawless. There's no real hiccups. Like Phil said, it's constantly, like, if someone leaves the channel, bam, they're gone off your Discord. It doesn't freeze. It doesn't keep them there. So, if you're having multiple people join and leave, the Stream Deck is acting instantaneously to, what's happening in Discord.
Cool. That's, I think the Discord plugin, kind of like OBS, is a real powerhouse of functionality in its current form.
Yeah. And also, talk a little bit about what's coming out in the future. We work, with this plugin and with things like, we released the Discord branded Wave 3 and the Discord branded Stream Deck earlier this year around, PAX Boston, PAX East. Our relationship with Discord is only getting stronger with the things they release. Like, they recently, I don't know if it's out yet, but the clips feature in Discord where, if you're watching someone stream in Discord, creating a clip of their gameplay, that's just a little hint of what's looking, towards the future. Is you're watching your buddy play, he does an awesome thing in a game, bam, hit your Stream Deck. Now you just clip that for him. He doesn't have to go back and record that. So, that's one of the things we're looking at. Things like one button go live. So, generally when you go to share your screen in Discord, there's that little button in the bottom left, and you have to click that and then, share your game or share your screen. Then you have to choose the resolution, then hit yes. There's a lot of, checkboxes that you have to go through. One button go live, where you hit a Stream Deck key, whatever kind of program is being used right then and there, that's what's getting streamed. So if you're in Discord, a buddy joins, you're playing Tarkov, for instance, and you're by yourself, and they say, hey, let me watch you. You don't have to alt tab and share your screen through those means. You're in Tarkov, you go camp in a corner for 10 seconds, you hit a key, you hear the boop, 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 as you're streaming streaming Tarkov, and then you're just live for that person right then and there. So things like that we're looking to introduce. Another thing is just one tap, turn your camera on. Whatever settings you had for it beforehand, whether you had used your camera before in Discord, the settings that you have, whether it's through a virtual cam or a webcam like Facecam Pro, whatever you had it set to, hit a key. All those settings are populated and your camera's now on. Or you can probably change those, or you will be able to change those in the property inspector inside Stream Deck, what camera you're using and stuff like that. And with the things that Discord is releasing, we're keeping note, we're keeping pace to release a lot of these actions that will make your life easier down the line, essentially.
I think for the clips thing, I was abusing it a little bit because when you stream, even if you stream to no one, you can clip your own content.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So you can essentially use it as your own, just if something cool happens, the last 30 seconds, just boom, clip that.
Just a little clip machine, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you don't, for some reason, use the Windows game bar or, maybe Shadowplay isn't working for you, or, there's obviously so many different ways, but Discord seems to be pretty reliable. So just hit clip, and then they even have a built-in, I didn't know this, but they even have a built-in like trim functionality, trim and share and all of that. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
The one click to go live, or not one click, one tap to go live.
Yes, one button go live. That is the terminology that is being used.
Okay, one button go live. Yeah.
Yeah.
That specifically has been requested by a few comments that I've seen on our Discord videos. So I think that'll be a really big hit. Because for people who are new to streaming on Discord, it's kind of surprising how many steps it takes to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just by just a little demo right here, it's 1 into 2 into choosing your resolution and your frame rate, then it's go live. So it's essentially 3 or 4 clicks if you're looking to change just anything there. It's 3 to 4 clicks to actually get your stream up and running. Now having, like I said, one key, one button go live, tap it, bam, you're there. That's the goal, and we are working on it, and it's coming soon. That's what I'll say.
And even if it was just one tap, the fact that you don't have to alt tab or minimize the game, I think is a pretty big change. And that's one of the things Stream Deck is really good at, is you prepare these things ahead of time, and you can leave your game up, your program up, whatever, and you don't have to get out of it.
Yeah,
I wonder if in terms of the implementation, what you could do is on the key actually show maybe what resolution and frame rate, or even like the window name you're about to, if you obviously you can select it in the property inspector, I would hope. By the way, a lot of what we're talking about right now is kind of hypothetical, right? So just like what we kind of envision, but this is the thought process that goes into this stuff, right? But obviously you can have some text on the key, so it actually shows you what window you're about to stream, so that way you can confirm that, yes, I'm playing Tarkov, it's in the foreground, I tap the key, and it's actually going to not task manager.exe, which is also open in the background, but it's actually take tarkov.exe or whatever the file is. So
yeah, and some of the ideas like having that one button go live key, because every application or exe has their own artwork. So when you have Tarkov on your toolbar, Tarkov has that specific artwork. So then all of a sudden your key now pulls that exe artwork. So that key shows this is what you're streaming to everyone. That's the goal. And like Phil said, these are all hypotheticals. It's in the works. There's some I's to be dotted, T's to be crossed. But we hope we can get it out to you guys soon.
Very cool. Interesting stuff.
Yes. Exciting stuff.
Next topic.
And just real quick, Brett, it's almost a game changer, would you say?
Yes.
Sorry. It was an old joke. It's about 2 minutes too late, but I just had to say it.
Is that a reference to something?
Yeah, because you said, having that one button go live can really change the way you game. And then I said, it'd be a game changer.
True. Also, I think the trick-or-treaters are on their way.
Oh boy, happy Halloween.
It is Halloween, yeah.
It is. We're recording this on Halloween.
Big mistake for me with my environment. So it wasn't just the Discord plugin changes. It was also, there was a bit of changes to Core, which is the name we talk about, just Stream Deck itself, the software. And so we talked a little bit in the last episode. I think it was 6.2 is about to come out. And then also there's 6.4, which really was Marketplace, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But Phil, could you talk a little bit quickly about some of the changes that did finally arrive in 6.2?
Yeah, 6.2 was a mostly focused on just kind of quality of life changes. So the first big one was global font settings. And this is one that, man, it must have been like the month after Stream Deck was released, we kind of got that request. So it's been a number of years. But essentially, you can now, instead of having to per key go in and change the font style or the font size, or, maybe you want bold or italics or just, anything font related. Before Stream Deck 6.2, you had to do that on a per key basis, which, if you're setting up a Stream Deck XL or you're setting up a folder with multiple keys, it get really annoying. And, we realize that ourselves. We use Stream Deck every day, so we know. And with this change, now if you go into the settings or the preferences of Stream Deck, you will now have a new tab in there called, I think it's font styles. And within that, you can set what is essentially the default font style for every single key. So if you create a new key, you drag and drop it on and you type something out in the title, then that font will be used. It'll also override, like let's say you have existing keys. Obviously, we don't want to leave them behind. So it'll also take those and change those to this new font style. Of course, in some cases, you might want custom fonts for a particular key. And so we're smart about that, or the Stream Deck software is smart about it. And essentially, if you customize, let's see, just an individual action and you change just like the font, even if it's if it's from maybe size 11 to size 12, and then you go into the global font settings and change everything to size 13, that one key that you changed individually doesn't change, right? Because we know that that was an intentional change that you made. You don't want that to be, changed by the global settings or the new defaults. So that just makes it really easy, right? If you want to make all of your keys red or all of them size, 14 text, all of them impact font or whatever it might be, have the power to do that. So really big quality of life update. The next one also really quite powerful, I think. The name we have for it isn't as intuitive, but it's link action state titles. So essentially, actions will have two states, a lot of them, right? So let's say you have your light on off, or you have your scene in Discord, Discord, I almost said, your scene in OBS, right? You have your scene is on or your scene is off, or your scene is basically selected or your scene is not selected. Those are two states, right? You have on and off. And before in Stream Deck 6.1 and earlier, you would have to set a title for the on state and then a title for the off state, or you had to set a title for the maybe your light is on and then you had to set a title and then the same thing for the off. So you always had to do essentially two things, right? Now there's actually just a little chain that you can click on, like a little chain icon. You click it and what it does is it'll link the two states together. So even if I'm in the off state for my light and I type in key light, it'll then put key light on the on state as well. And we're going to put some video on screen so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here, right? Help visualize it a little bit.
Some B-roll?
Some B-roll, exactly. So, and yeah, that's an inside joke right there. That's why these two are laughing. So that's also just a really nice quality of life change, right? Essentially, it's just reducing the friction, reducing the amount of clicks, the amount of work you need to do to customize your Stream Deck. Because, let's say for lights, we have icons that are really nice that show you if the light is on or if the light is off. You don't necessarily need to label those with on and off, but you might want to label it with, this is my left key light, this is my right key light, or, this is my my kind of like room light versus this is my, spotlight in this case, which is, more directly on me, something like that. So you can now do those labels and let the icon kind of speak for itself. And again, all you have to do is type it in once and it'll set it for both states. That's another really nice change. And then there's two more. One is opening folders. So the open action, again, before Stream Deck 6.2, the open action would by default just show you your file explorer, and then you would have to select an actual file. But what was sort of a secret pro tip was that if you paste in the file path to a folder, you could then actually have that open a folder. But obviously, we want to make that easy as well, and that shouldn't be such a hidden feature. So we changed that. So now there's two icons in the open action when you're in the property inspector. One will actually just open a file. So like, let's say you want to open, a file or a program or something like that, right? You select it. Or now you can also select a folder. Folder, I think, is probably going to be, well, not necessarily the most used, but if you're opening, like, let's say you have graphics assets that you need to access often, or even like sound files or something like that, you can just quickly go to those and access those with a tap of a key.
I
And
mean,
the last thing is
a
the
use case for that,
okay.
I was going to say is like in Windows, you have I think it's called the quick access. You can pin folders to that. Same exact thing. I pin a lot of any major project that I'm working in for more than just a few hours, I'll pin to that. And so, and those are folders, right? I don't think you can pin files to that. But for me, it might be, over the last couple of months, maybe the prompter folder for all the launch content, and then maybe one for marketplace videos and all these things that I'm constantly going into. Anytime I reboot my computer or someone says, hey, I need a clip from here, immediately I would open that. And so this particular feature has been pretty helpful for that sort of use case.
And folders, yeah, I mean, speaking of like more of maybe a visual workflow or working with video, folders, the location doesn't have to be on your local drive, right? Like it could also be on an external drive. It could be on a NAS. Maybe you and a team are working on something together and they're constantly throwing files in there. Maybe it's, SharePoint, OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever it is. If you have that linked on your system, then you can, point that open action to that folder and it'll just open it. So it can be a real time saver, especially if something is, like 10 folders deep and you're constantly accessing it, then you might want to use that. And the last one is the close action. So we've had the open action since day one of Stream Deck. Now we have a close action. You just select the program that you essentially want to close and you tap it and it'll try to quit it. Now, when I say try, that's not to knock it, but there are a lot of programs these days which, and I don't know how deep we want to go down this rabbit hole, but there's a lot of programs which essentially what the icon that you click on is almost just like a launcher for the program that then actually launches. So for example, Discord, when you actually double click Discord, it's not running like discord.exe. What you double click is almost like a little launcher that then actually it's an updater that then launches Discord. So if you select that and click close, Discord's not going to close actually. And so we wrote up some help documentation for that, and you can learn all about that. Maybe we can throw it up or put a link in the description. But essentially, depending on the program, you might need to do some special handling, but it'll just close apps. So, VLC, OBS Studio, if it's just a regular EXE, if it's a game, it'll just close it. Again, some apps like I know Discord, I think maybe Zoom, I think Slack as well. Basically, a lot of Electron apps will behave this way because you essentially launch the updater for it, and it then launches the program itself. Kind of annoying,
Electron being,
yeah,
it's like a web app in a sense.
Essentially, yeah, right. Because that's, I mean, frankly, that's what Discord pretty much is. It's just the web app running in a in like a container, and Slack works the same way. I think the new Teams client actually works the same way. So it's a common format for apps to run in that way, but it just makes it a little bit trickier if you want to close it via Stream Deck. So again, we'll leave a link to like a help article in the description if you do want to take a look at that, or if it's not working for you. But again, now you can use the close action, which can be quite nice if you put it in something like a multi-action, because you can have it like open, maybe do something, yada, 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 wait a certain amount of time and then close the program or close the file or whatever it is again.
Yep.
I wanted to bring up, you mentioned how things don't necessarily open in a predictable way. There are 7 Discord processes running right now. And so I don't know which one you choose to close, but that's sort of even something as what you think of as being simple. A chat program can be a little more complex under the hood.
And we've tried, we also have some ideas internally of how to work with that. For example, what I would love to see is us taking the time to, at least for some of these more used programs like Discord, just add some custom handling where you don't necessarily see all the processes, you just see Discord. And we, Stream Deck in the background is smart enough to then figure out, or again, we do some custom implementation where then, okay, it knows to then close Discord, right? And that you, the user, then just see a single entry, which is Discord. In fact, it would be even better if it was honestly just a drop down of all your running applications or something. Like basically we could simplify this even more, but it's always a matter of resources and time, and where do we spend those? So
what I would really like is if it was it's a way to like we turn the action to open/close, and it's just a toggle that flips it, because if you already selected the program to open it, it knows where it is. I think that was
Well, the
a
missile knows
suggestion
where
I
it
put in
is
there.
because it knows where it isn't.
It knows where it's
Not
been.
by subtracting where it is from where it isn't. Yeah. The Stream Deck knows the program is open because it knows it's not closed.
We need that on our soundboard.
Because it opened it. That's how
Because
it
it
knows.
opened it. If the program is open, the Stream Deck can close it. Yeah.
The turbo encabulator.
So great. But yeah, so those are the kind of the core changes to Stream Deck Core in 6.2. Then we had 6.3, which Christiana is going to talk about in that section of the podcast. And then we move on to 6.4, right?
Yeah.
I think that just launched. That's a little bit more of a hot topic.
Is it?
You want to talk about it? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm just talking a lot right now.
It's all right. You're doing a great
How was
job.
your childhood?
Okay, well.
Tell me about your problems.
What do I always say? It was a very sheltered German childhood. Okay, we can cut that
Um, before
But
we
yeah,
move
so-
on to Marketplace, 'cause
Yeah.
that's basically what 6.4 was. I don't think, was there any particular core changes?
There were actually a couple, yes.
Oh, okay.
So, all within the guise of this is coming with Marketplace, but essentially there's the new notification. Do we call it tray? I don't know what the name for it is. Tray, taskbar. We have a download manager, and we also now, and thank God for this. I mean, this is also something we've had kind of on our list, and even I think we had like mock-ups and everything for it for a number of years now. But essentially, before Stream Deck 6.4, right, there's kind of the before and after before. So like on Stream Deck 6.3 and earlier, if a plugin updated or you downloaded a new one, you didn't know that maybe there's a new action or something changed in the action, or that you actually downloaded something new. Essentially, Stream Deck didn't really tell you. And that's, that's on us. We just, we could have built that in earlier, but we didn't. Now we have it though. And so when you download a plugin, or let's say a plugin updates and it simply adds a single new action, on the action sidebar, you'll now see not only like a little new badge, but you'll also see a blue dot next to the action. So this is to kind of help you, or to prompt you to maybe investigate. Maybe you go look at the change log, maybe you go on Marketplace and look at what's new, or you just, then move the action onto a key and explore it and see what's new in there. This is really nice because as you start installing, 10, 20, 30 actions, right, those all update in the background automatically, that you can also now disable, by the way. We'll get to that. But you can now see exactly which ones are updating and, maybe what's new. And that same goes for this new notifications manager that I just mentioned, where now if in the background, again, something updates, not only do you see that in the right-hand sidebar, but we have a little new notifications manager. You click on it and it'll show you what happened. So it'll say like, Camera Hub plugin was updated to version, what did we just release? Like 2.3 or something. Maybe you downloaded a new song, or maybe there was an icon pack update and, that added some new icons. So it'll say the icon pack was updated. So now you're constantly being informed about kind of what Stream Deck is doing, because we want it to be seamless. So that way there's no friction. You're not being asked to update all the time, right? This stuff should just happen automatically, but you as the user should also be informed of what's happening. It shouldn't be secret. We want for the plugins to be able to kind of tell you, hey, something's new, something has changed, but again, without kind of getting in your way. And so this is the way there's now these two areas that'll do that.
Yeah,
there's also, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it was really cool because a lot of since Marketplace was released just a week before Prompter, I think a lot of us saw that first time in action when connecting Prompter, because then Camera Hub would update and you get all the Prompter, like all the Prompter actions, and then you saw the Camera Hub new, and then next to all the Prompter actions there was that little blue dot, and they kind of click like, oh, this is cool. Like I it's one of those things where like in the back of your mind, like you don't think you need it, but then once you see it, you go, oh, I needed this. Like this hits the nail on the head. This is good. So
It's basically
and
Stream
for
Deck in a
everyone-
nutshell, right? I didn't think I needed this, and now I can't live without it.
yeah, right.
That was also the top comment on the prompter. I think on the Reddit post, someone said, "I didn't know I needed this, but now I need it." So I think
Exactly.
we tend to be pretty good at that. But again, this is one of those things where we use Stream Deck ourselves internally every single day. We use it for work. We use it for our own workflows. We use it for gaming. Chris uses it for Discord. I use it for Discord. I use it for OBS recording. We have the same kind of thoughts about the product as you guys do in the community, right? When you say, I wish Stream Deck could do X, Y, and Z, generally we've either considered it already internally and, either it got put off for, a reason like, oh, we have more important things to work on. There's other priorities, right? We need to maybe ship an integration like something like Marketplace. Or it's something that we haven't considered yet, but when you bring it up, we go, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Let's see where we can bring that in, right? So it's never a matter of, we kind of sit there, look at Stream Deck and go, we don't really know what to do with this thing. All of this stuff is usually considered at some point or another. So this whole notifications thing was also, I'm pretty sure that was sitting around for a number of years before we finally got it in there. Let's see, what else came in Stream Deck 6.4? There's a new plugins tab in the preferences. And this is a nice kind of one-stop shop to just show you all of the plugins that you have installed, a little bit of info about them, the version numbers, and you can now for the first time disable auto updates. So if there is a plugin where you are, you don't want to keep updating it, maybe you also heard that there's a bug with the newest version or something like that, then you can go in, you can uncheck that auto update box, and then it simply won't update until you either check for updates manually or you re-enable that checkbox. So just giving you a little bit more control. And you can also use that UI to uninstall plugins. So you can either right click on the plugin, or I think there's also a little minus button at the bottom if you highlight it to uninstall it. So it's just a nice way to get an overview of what you have installed that isn't just the right-hand, sidebar, excuse me. Now, there was one thing that we missed, or that I missed, which was the automatic website icons. And so this is another really cool, again, a really small quality of life update that you might not have kind of noticed or even thought about until we now implemented, which is we have this website action where if you enter a URL, it simply opens that website. Now, in the past, again, those, let's say you have a bunch of different websites, you have a bunch of different, maybe you're using Stream Deck for work and you've got some Amazon dashboards on there, you've got, Microsoft, you're like Office 365, you've got some other tools that you use. All of those would just be the little globe icon, right? Essentially like a web browser icon. And you would have to go in, manually drag, an icon on there, put one on there. It's kind of tedious. Well, websites for, gosh, I don't know how long have had favicons. Am I saying that right? Favicons?
I mean, I assume it's favicon.
Favicon, but it's like one word, right? It's not two words, it's one word. So is it favicon? I call it favicon. Let's call it.
All right.
If you know, we'll leave it in the comments below. How do you pronounce it?
The proper pronunciation of this topic.
It sounds wrong.
And so all of these icons are obviously already out there. And so what we do now is Stream Deck simply, when you type in the URL, it simply finds the favicon and sets that as the icon. So let's say you type in elgato.com, it simply pulls the Elgato logo because that's what we use for our website. If you type in corsair.com, if you type in X, if you type in Facebook, Twitch, whatever it is, it'll now just pull that in. So what that means is if you set up, let's say on a Stream Deck Plus, you set up 8 keys with the website action, you'll now have 8 keys with beautiful icons on them. Now those icons are set like you would do any other icon. So what you can actually do is if you do want to remove it and set a custom one, you could just go into the property inspector and set an icon, or if you want to reset it, you can just right click and click on reset. So it should make that action look a lot nicer when you set it up with different websites. And that's one of the things that we've I think about a year ago when we started talking about kind of next Stream Deck planning updates, one of the big things we wanted to do was, okay, every single update should ship some sort of quality of life update. And when we say quality of life, that's not necessarily a feature, right? A feature would be something like the close action or, global font settings. That's like a big new feature. A quality of life update like this or a quality of life change, simply it's kind of in that word, quality of life. It makes it easier to use, better, right? Maybe you have less steps to make it look good. It just enhances the experience overall. And so our goal is to, with every single Stream Deck update, is ship 1 or 2 things that will just make the experience a little bit better. If we ship multiple updates per year, at the end of the year, we might have a ton of small little improvements that make Stream Deck feel completely different than than it did maybe a year ago. And so that's kind of what we're going for. And these are just, the global font settings, the linking of the action state titles, opening folders, the website icons. These all kind of come together, and already right there, that's what, like 5 or 6. Even all those small things make the product feel a lot better.
I'm not sure what else to add there. Yeah, I guess polish.
And it looks good, especially with the favicon or whatever we're calling it. Like you said, it pulls that icon or that image, whatever it is, and it adds it to the key. Very very similar to the we talked about with Discord. Like it just naturally pulls it from the website and adds a little bit of life and a little bit of quality to that website action, and it makes
And
it
we
just
even
real.
we even did that with the OBS plugin. It
Mm-hmm.
used to be that every single source control was the same icon. So if you added like 5 or 6 sources to your Stream Deck, they all just had the little, like the source icon. But
Yep.
now they're actually different based on the source that they are. So if you add a voice chat, it's because I wrote it in there. If you add an audio or input or output capture, right, it's a different icon. Or if you add a video capture device, right, it's a different icon. And so immediately it's recognizable and it just makes your Stream Deck look a lot nicer. And for someone like me who's really lazy, that's great. I don't need to do anything else. In fact, actually the OBS plugin will even type in the text for you on, whatever scene or source you have selected. So if you really don't want to do anything, you don't have to.
And someone might say, oh well, I have all these sources, just having the icon might not be enough differentiating. But the thing is, if you really think about it, 99% of people using OBS probably have 3 sources, like their camera, maybe a game, and then maybe stream alerts or something like that.
Yeah.
So having just the icon alone is probably enough for the vast majority of users. And so that simple change made a huge impact for the quality of life of those particular people.
So we left out one rather large thing from this discussion, which is Marketplace. And I think we can move on to that a little bit. So I've been doing a lot of talking.
Well,
Brett, do
hold
you
on.
want to intro Marketplace? Oh,
I can.
did I jump ahead?
Well, just a little bit. There were some questions from the community that I guess I could ask you. And it leads into from a little bit of the end of our conversation there, but are there any particular quality of life updates that we're working on that we can share that you know of?
That is actually a great question. And there's one in particular, which kind of ties into Marketplace as well. But, and again, I need to preface this is just something that we were exploring. Well, there's actually 2 things that I can mention. Both of these are in kind of their exploration. They might never see the light of day. They might see the light of day in the next update. I just need to say that, right, as kind of the disclaimer. But the first one is auto folder exit. So that one's really cool. It's essentially if you have a folder and you go into the folder, you tap a key, it immediately just jumps out back to the root. Or you can set a delay. So for example, you're in the folder, you tap a key and Stream Deck waits 3 seconds and then jumps out of the folder. And so if you think about, like let's say you have a Stream Deck Mark II with 15 keys on it, you have 2 or 3 of those keys are folders, and in those folders you have some sound files, because you want to play some sound bites or whatever. What you would normally do is you would, tap a key or, tap on the folder, go into the folder, tap the sound file, and then you have to tap on the return to exit that folder, and then you can use it again. Well, we've essentially just reduced this by 1 tap because you tap on the folder, go in, tap on the sound file, it plays, and Stream Deck immediately just jumps right back out to the root again. So that's a really, really nice thing. And that's like a global option that you can just apply on that folder. I've been testing it a little bit. It's really nice. You just have that option of you essentially, you can choose, there's no delay between it, pressing a key and it jumping out, or maybe 1, I think it's up to 10 seconds, and that stuff is all, you can kind of tweak it. And, but it's really nice because again, you can tap a key. Maybe you also have a multi-action or whatever. You actually want to wait a little bit before it, moves back out. But this makes folders, I think, a lot more useful, again, for little kind of one-off actions like playing a sound bite, or even toggling a graphic on or off that you just want to quickly, do that with. You can, go into a folder of all your graphics there, you toggle on a quick lower third or whatever, and then it just boom, you're right back at your root folder, or basically the main overview of your Stream Deck where you have all of your scene controls or something like that. So that's one. Again, disclaimer, might not make it in there, or maybe it's in like two updates from now or something like that. And the other is with Marketplace, and which we'll touch on a little bit. You can search on Marketplace for plugins, but what if, in the Stream Deck sidebar on the right-hand side, you could search, if you search in there, of course, it shows you all the plugins that you have installed, but what if at the bottom it even says something like, and here's what we found on Marketplace, and then you can immediately install from there. So that would also be really cool, because that way it reduces that friction again of getting plugins, which Marketplace already does really well. I mean, you basically go from, you open Marketplace, find the plugin, click get, and it just installs it. But now you can do that still all within Stream Deck, as long as you're logged into your account, and it's all right there in the navigation. So that is also a really cool feature.
Yeah, or maybe, obviously this is a pipe dream, an idea, using, data where it's like, oh, you're installing Stream Deck. Would you like to install Control Center or Camera Hub or, 4K capture utility? Like, it kind of knows, hey, you have these plugins installed. Others like you also have these ones, and it just kind of offers them up to you. That could also be a useful
Or vice
thing.
versa, right? You install Stream Deck and you have Camera Hub installed, and Stream Deck asks you, hey, we noticed you have Camera Hub. Do you also want to get the plugin for it? Because it's, they work well together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's another way. That's another way to do it. And there's some other ideas too around like icons. We have this concept right now of icons are just basically a single image, but what if we actually layered them? So you must have like an icon background. Maybe you have your icon like main element, and then you have a foreground, and you can change those. Like maybe you want to set a wallpaper across all of Stream Deck that just goes behind all of your icons. That isn't really possible today, but that's something we've thought about. There's other ones like multi-select, like you just click and drag across keys and you can copy and paste them all, right? Like you could select like 10 keys. You have this chunk, you copy them, you paste them onto a different device, or maybe you cut them and put them in a folder. Oh, there's so many ideas that we have. So many.
Not enough hands, not enough bodies.
No, could use all the help we can get to implement those. But it's really just a matter of prioritization again, right? We have all these ideas. We need people to just work on them. And in the end, there's also about a fine balance between shipping new features and then also just putting out, essentially on existing features, just doing little refinements, little updates, and these quality of life improvements that I mentioned earlier.
All right. Well, that's a very good answer. Exactly what I was hoping for.
Perfection.
All right. And so, I think we can move on now to Marketplace. So for those who may not be aware, Marketplace launched, was it the 12th? I think 12th of October.
Yes, because Prompter was the 17th, Marketplace was the 12th.
Yes. And we'll probably have to do another episode or probably the next episode where we get Caleb, who's the product owner of Marketplace on. He's been on a couple of our live streams and Discord town halls. So I think we can touch on Marketplace here today just because it's kind of the hot topic. But I would say for even more in-depth answers and kind of, hear it from the man himself, we'll have to get Caleb on the next episode.
Yeah, I think maybe Caleb and James, since Chris is on today. I think that would make sense. So Marketplace is, well, at least it does cover various products, but I would say it's the Stream Deck store grew up, and now you can grab plugins, icon packs, profiles, what was the other one? Music, sound effects, all this stuff in one place. And not only that, because obviously you could do that with the store already, but the big change is that this is now kind of an ecosystem. I mean, it's in the name, Marketplace, where other makers, creators of plugins or creators of icon packs, etc., can join in and have help me out here. What's the best way to describe it? They can contribute and also get something out of it.
I think that's the biggest thing for us with Marketplace is we want to give a platform to all the makers out there. And you're probably going to hear the term makers a lot because that's the term that I don't know if coined is the right phrase. We're getting deep here again. But makers is, someone who's making something, right? And in this case, maker is someone who might be making a plugin. Maybe they make an icon pack. And with the Stream Deck store in Stream Deck 6.3 and earlier, that store kind of openly and frankly was not set up for handling payments, right? We had no account system, we had nothing in place for it. And all the plugins on there are free. Now, to be real for a second, you gotta get that bread somehow. You gotta make money. And if you're making plugins for free, there's some great plugins on there, right? There's like Bar Raider, who's got, 10, if not more, plugins on the Stream Deck store. He's investing his valuable time into building these incredible plugins. And, we want to, and we hope that the community wants to support him in that. The previous Stream Deck store wouldn't really allow for that. And so we not only wanted to enable that, but we also wanted to enable a place or create a place where all creators could find basically products, be that overlays, After Effects templates, a really new counter system that we have, all of these different things that can enhance your content, and at the same time you're supporting the makers of that. And so with that, Marketplace was born. So it's everything that you know and love about the Stream Deck store, kind of taking to the next level, and it allows you to do so much more. So for example, you can download full overlays now. So it's not just, icon packs and Stream Deck plugins anymore, but for OBS, if you want to get an overlay that is in the theme of Starfield or something around, Halloween, because, that is the day today, then you can get a really spooky overlay, and within a matter of minutes, you can have it, not even minutes, seconds, you can have it installed into OBS. We're also doing some really cool work using some tech called deep linking, where, and this is a little bit down the line, but I think I can mention it. There will be a update to the OBS plugin, and essentially what will happen is when you buy or for free get something on Marketplace, it'll simply ask, do you want to immediately place this into OBS? Like, let's say it's an overlay pack. You just click yes, and then it'll just put it into OBS, and it'll even format and put everything in there. All the files, all the scenes and everything will be automatically formatted for you. You're pretty much just good to go at that point. Maybe you need to, reposition your camera a little bit or something like that, but you'll be pretty much good to go. And so that's gonna be really powerful. No more, downloading a zip file, unzipping it, going through all the different folders, dragging and dropping those into OBS. It'll literally just be, you go to Marketplace, you find a cool icon pack, you find a cool overlay pack, or maybe notifications or something like that. You just click get, you get it, it immediately puts it into OBS. And then together with Marketplace, we're introducing our Elgato account. And the primary reason that we have an Elgato account is simply for the fact that if you purchase something, we somehow need to be able to make sure that, well, A, you purchased it, and that B, you then have, the permission to download it, right, and to use those assets. And without an account, that is incredibly difficult to do. In fact, I don't know of many places that will allow you to just buy something without an account. And so, you now have an account, you sign up. It doesn't need a lot of information at all, really just the basics just to get you up and running. And then, you can start exploring Marketplace and getting all the cool different products that are listed by makers. And it's also going to grow from there. So for example, the Marketplace also has integration with Wavelink. So you can get VSTs for Wavelink right from Marketplace. And that list is a little bit small at the moment, but that's going to be growing as we start onboarding more makers who are building out VSTs. We are also working on Mac versions of our VSTs. We're going to be integrating it into Camera Hub. So if you're looking to get new backgrounds for Camera Hub, or I think eventually maybe even LUTs possibly, that's something that we're looking at. There's going to be that OBS integration that I talked about. And then, we're looking also to integrate it into other applications as time goes on. So we really see this as a way to make your life as a creator much easier by, anything that you do in Marketplace, you just have that get button, and then it just plops it right into whatever software you're using.
And one thing I think is important to note is the account you use to sign into Marketplace attaches itself to your Stream Deck software. So that's how the updates go through. That's how, like Phil was mentioning, update to icon packs, updates to plugins, getting new actions, all of that stuff lives on in Stream Deck software. So you don't need to keep logging in. If you go to Marketplace within Stream Deck software, it's a flawless, seamless experience. You don't have to keep logging in. Oh, what was my password? All that stuff. Kind of Stream Deck kind of handles all that for you,
Yep.
which was one of the things that I think a lot of people are like, oh, I gotta download a plugin. I gotta keep logging in. Oh, I want to get an icon pack. I gotta keep logging in. Nope. Stream Deck software. Like you'll even see your little profile icon in Stream Deck software right next to the settings and right next to the marketplace, icon, where the old Stream Deck, Stream Deck store icon would be. And then also next to that little bell, like Phil mentioned, the notifications tab. It's all saved and it's all, integrated within Stream Deck software and marketplace. They are kind of two peas in the same pod. They work flawlessly together.
And one of the feedback that we've received a lot now as well, by having marketplace, we increase the amount of clicks it requires to actually get something from, to install a plugin. Previously it was that you open the store, you find a plugin, you click download, and you're good to go. This is actually still true for marketplace, with one little asterisk on there. So the first time that you download a plugin, or really any asset from marketplace that is integrated with Stream Deck or Wavelength, there's going to be one checkbox, and it's going to ask you like, do you want to allow, I think it's like marketplace to open like Wavelength or open Stream Deck in the future.
Right. That's the deep linking functionality.
Exactly. And you want to make sure you check that box, because once you do that, it'll never ask you again. You simply, you at that point just click get, and then it will just open Wavelength for you or Stream Deck and immediately start the download. If you don't check that box, then yes, every time it'll ask you for that. It'll say like, hey, Stream Deck would like to, or Marketplace would like to open Stream Deck. Is this okay? And then you have to click allow. That's actually just a security thing. Because obviously you want to make sure that the thing that you're downloading is in fact what you want to be getting. But with Marketplace and our integration, you can always be sure that that's going to be the case. So just check that box. You only have to do that once. And then from there on, it is the same, if not even less clicks than before. I think it's actually the same then at that point. But obviously you have the entire marketplace at your disposal at this point. So we're really excited for it, and kind of what the future of it is. And we're also just excited to be able to offer a platform for makers. It can be pretty rough out there, in the streaming space. We've seen people kind of trying to build their own websites, and there's a lot of technical know-how that comes with that. And if we can just be that kind of one-stop shop where you can go, all the products on there have been vetted by us, which that's another thing I should probably point out, is that obviously, since we are hosting this and everything lives on Marketplace, it requires somewhat of a stamp of approval from us. So when something gets submitted, it goes through a security process. We, of course, do like virus checks. A team of people look at it. We make sure that it's not doing anything funny. We also make sure that it's actually, like, let's say, this is the plugin that, adjusts your volume, that it actually does that and isn't doing something else. We also make sure that, hey, if a plugin is not working, for example, we'll let the maker know that, we're hearing feedback, it's not working. We're going to have to, address this somehow, because obviously we want to, again, make sure that you have a great experience when you get something from Marketplace. So we are putting our seal of approval on everything that's going on there, and ensuring that it's all extremely high quality. And yeah.
All right. That was a lot of information.
Yeah, I mean, Marketplace is a huge topic. It's only going to grow from here.
Yeah,
and we're going to have, we've had, like I said, we've had a couple. Well, maybe a couple is too much, but we've had a live stream with Caleb, who's basically the Marketplace lead. And I think, again, we'll have him on the next episode. I think that would be good to have him on here. And yeah, Marketplace is really, it's a new direction for Elgato, but it is where we see kind of the future headed, is integrating everything. And we also want to take somewhat of a step back at that point and say, hey, you're the creator, you're the maker. We just want to get you guys linked together. We don't necessarily need to be, that in that middle. We just want to give you guys a platform where you can do that easily. So, yeah.
And this is sort of, it's the next chapter in a way, because this is a really big deal for us.
Would you say it's game changing? I'm sorry.
Market changing.
It's
Place.
Stream Deck changing.
So to do a little bit of a recap, though, because there was a lot of information there as we moved from topic to topic. So the particular apps, the Elgato apps that are integrated with Marketplace right now is Stream Deck as of 6.4 and Wavelink as of 1.8.
Yep.
And I think in the little intro there we mentioned that so you have icon packs, music, sound effects, plugins. In terms of Stream Deck functionality, those all have deep linking. But the status with profiles right now is that's not quite deep linked yet. You can still download those, but it's sort of it's still the old way of adding those to Stream Deck.
And that's going to just improve over time, right? So right now, yeah, you download a profile, it gives you it's still quite easy in the sense that it just gives you the file and you just double click it and it then imports it into Stream Deck. You can't really do much wrong there. Obviously, we want to also make that the same great experience which you have for plugins, which is you just click get and then boom, it's right in Stream Deck. So that'll happen probably in the next update or two. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, that's coming as well. And that's actually one of the really cool things, new features that we have with Marketplace is profiles. Before, let's say there was a, I don't know, flight simulator profile or a Star Citizen profile or, farming simulator, whatever it might be. I would have to go to a third-party site or someone would have to send me their file directly. Now it's all just on Marketplace. You can find them there. There's going to be some great free options. There's going to be some great paid options. I mean, some of these profiles are just incredible. What I think it's like, is it Icon City who's putting some of these together?
Yep.
That'll have like, I think there's a Photoshop one that you almost have to think of it like a folder, like it's like a directory where the top icons are like, is this for Photoshop? You click Photoshop and then within that you select the tool, and then within the tool you have even more options. Really incredible stuff. That takes a ton of work. They're all custom icons, and so I would be happy to support them there. So yeah, there's gonna be some great, really great free options and some really great paid options there as well.
And I want to reiterate that because we had a couple comments talking about how you had the Stream Deck store, which had all this free stuff, and they moved to Marketplace where everything's paid, which isn't true. There's free options in literally every single category. And in fact, Marketplace, I gave feedback, I think it was like 2 days ago, about making sure that there was a free filter for screensavers, because at first it's hard to find necessarily where the free options are, but we're iterating very quickly because that's already added. So you'll be able to see which options are free in every single category if you just want sort of the old experience of Stream Deck Store, where you just find something, click on install or download or get, and have that added to Stream Deck. So if you were used to the Stream Deck Store before, this experience only adds to the possibilities of your Stream Deck. Yeah, I think it was screensavers, which is not a crucial functionality of Stream Deck. It's more of an aesthetic thing. But yeah, there are free options there.
And maybe one day we'll add this.
But it's cool.
It is cool. And maybe one day we'll add this like layers functionality that I sneakily talked about, and then maybe we'll add a wallpaper functionality or something like that, right? One that you can actually throw behind keys. We'll have to see. But yeah, Marketplace is only going to grow from here on out. There's awesome new products being listed every single day. The team is doing a fantastic job. If you yourself are someone who makes things, I would highly suggest reaching out to the team. We've got a Discord where everything is kind of in. We've got a ton of documentation. We've got a great team that'll help you get set up and get your stuff listed on there as well. So you can pretty much ping anyone at Elgato who's like kind of public and just, on Twitter or X or wherever, and just say, hey, how do I access this? And you can find that information, or we'll reply. I think that kind of will cap off Marketplace, because I also want to talk about Wavelink.
which has is somewhat related in that respect.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So the 1.8 update was the Marketplace integration. So you can now get that. And then there was something else, and of course now that I'm thinking about it, I'm blanking on it. There's the buffer settings are back. the buffer settings, we had disabled those, but we brought those back because we realized that those could be quite useful for some of you out there. These buffer settings, essentially what they do, they're in the settings. If there's ever any audio crackling with Wavelink that you're experiencing, then you can try changing these. There's basically a small buffer, medium, and large. And you'll generally need to use these if you, or I mean, hopefully you don't need to use it at all, but if you do, it'll be when you're using wireless headsets or possibly also a capture card in Wavelink. If there's any crackling there ever, just try switching between those different buffer settings. That might help there.
And by default, it's on like medium or normal, right?
Yep. Yep, exactly. I think it's on normal, I guess would be the kind of the medium option there. Yeah. And then there's also Wave device control with Stream Deck. So basically hardware controls are now in there with the Stream Deck plugin. So if you want to control the hardware mute or you want to control the, the actual gain, there's the gain lock, clip guard, the low cut, basically all of the hardware related features, those you can now actually change with Stream Deck. Whereas before it was mostly the software stuff and those weren't in there. We now just expanded it so you can change everything, including the headphone output volume and the PC mic mix as well. So all of that is now controllable, of course, with dials or with Stream Deck Plus. So yeah, it's again, nice little quality of life update.
Yeah, before you used to have to go into Wavelink, click down the little down arrow, then go into the hardware settings and then enable and disable what you needed. So it's a much nicer quality of life change.
Yeah.
Now, of course, but I think it's really only, it's got those advanced processing. Those are the ones that aren't available on the device itself. But personally, I tend to keep my Wave XLR further back on the desk because I don't usually have to touch it and I can control everything on it, even more on Stream Deck Plus using dials or the or keys for things like low cut or clip guard, which you really don't want to turn off, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we added to Stream Deck kind of for completeness sake to check that box, but yeah, we would suggest just always keeping those on.
Always keep clip guard on. It's very important.
Here, let me test it out.
Since I think since the last time we talked about Wavelink, we also there was a new Nvidia driver which fixes an audio crackling issue if you're using the Nvidia noise reduction VST. That one also took a little bit longer than we hoped, but a fix is finally here for that. Essentially what it does is it just prioritizes Wavelink in the Nvidia driver to make sure it's got enough resources that even when you're gaming or you're streaming or you're doing other things, Wavelink, if you're using that noise reduction, VST is using a little bit of your GPU, right, to do that noise processing. And so we want to make sure that it gets enough resources there, and now it has that. So you just want to update to if you're listening to this or watching this now and you now update to the most recent Nvidia driver, you'll get that. I think it was in at this point 3 or 4 versions ago. So that,
and this wasn't a fix that we had to implement. This came from Nvidia. Is that right?
Yeah, this came from Nvidia.
Correct.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So they just did some magic under the hood there, and just made sure that Wavelink always gets that little bit of prioritization that it needs to make sure that because audio processing, audio, you want that to be as much in real time as possible. For some of you out there, you've maybe had to deal with things like DPC latency and whatnot, so you'll know what that's like. I think I'm seeing Brett making a face there.
It's honestly, it is so difficult to fix. It's kind of a nightmare if you start experiencing DPC latency problems. For me, it took a Windows reinstall, but it's
and this has nothing to do with DPC. I just want to say as an example that audio is a what is it, like a
sorry, I was getting
mistress or
flashbacks.
Whatever? Yeah, oof, that's good. And so we worked with Nvidia and they implemented a fix, which is awesome. And then was level meters. That was a Stream Deck plugin update, but I guess that was also kind of relevant as well. So if you have a Stream Deck Plus and you put the Wavelink channels onto your dials, you can now see the actual level meters in real time, the same ones that you would see within Wavelink. That's pretty cool because you can actually now keep Wavelink closed, again, using less real estate on your system if you only have 1 or 2 monitors, and see it right on Stream Deck. And when you turn the dial, it'll then show you what the volume level is. and that you're moving it to, and then it'll revert back after a little bit to showing you the levels. We did hear some feedback around that. Some people just want to see the percentage, like the volume level constantly. And so I think that's actually something we're adding in. It'll be like a checkbox or a toggle in there in one of the next updates. So again, we are listening to everything that you guys are saying out there and trying to make those changes as we can.
Your feedback is important to us.
Absolutely.
Please stay in the comments.
I did see the topic of audio enhancement processing, and I don't unfortunately have an update on that. I haven't had a chat with the team, Wavelength team. Actually, maybe Brett, you did. I'm not sure if you have.
No, that didn't come up. Most of my discussions were with VSTs and such. But also, when I wrote this outline, this was months ago. So the story up until now has been we had removed that functionality from the driver because it was causing some problems.
This I still don't know what the if we can implement that. I know some folks, especially if you're playing Warzone, we're using that quite a bit because it essentially allowed you to do, I think, just boost like volume and stuff like that. So we're still looking into it. I do wonder if, and this might take some creative thinking, but what were you trying to achieve? If you're trying to achieve, like, let's say, just adjusting a certain frequency, well, you can actually just do that with an EQ within Wavelength. So in the meantime, I know it's maybe not, the perfect solution or necessarily what you want to hear, but there might be a way to already do this within Wavelength, just using one of the VST effects that are out there, either the ones made by us or, made by the community, to achieve quite literally the same, and it maybe even in a better quality than what you had before. If it was, maybe removing other sounds so you can hear footsteps better, or just changing the frequency or something like that, that is possible. So yeah, that's Wavelength. We've got some other cool updates planned there, but nothing that I can go into in this episode. I think we've already leaked enough as it is.
And now we're joined by Christiana and Thomas. Christiana is team lead of mobile development, and if you remember from episode 1 of the Flashback podcast, Thomas is director of desktop software, if I remember that right.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So Christiana, you were, what's the right word, in charge of Stream Deck Mobile 2.0 development.
Well, I guess what is the thinking behind that, right? Why did we want to relaunch Stream Deck Mobile? Why did we do a 2.0 version of it? And also, I guess I think there weren't any updates to it for almost like a year and a half or even more than that. So
probably even longer.
Yeah.
So before I joined, actually, there was no mobile development team here at Elgato. So the Stream Deck mobile version was more of a side project of the Stream Deck main team, of the desktop team. And they did an amazing job for that, you have to say. And it really went well for that long of a time. And when I joined here, basically my main task was to see what we can do. What are the pain points for Stream Deck Mobile? What can we do better? And there were, just a few things that we identified. And since, as you said, a few years passed since the first release, we just decided to start from scratch, redo it. And that's what we did. So we just took that opportunity to really rethink not only the code, but also the entire UI and UX from scratch.
So with Stream Deck Mobile 2.0, there was, I think one of the exciting changes that came with it was the amount of customization you could do to the layout. I mean, just the keys themselves. You went from, the original was essentially mirroring a regular Stream Deck, 15 keys. And now you can do 64 keys on an iPhone. Not that we necessarily recommend that setup, but that's an immense amount of keys. And also with iPad, you can do even more than that. What was the thinking behind, or were there any particular challenges with coming up with that particular number or managing to make that work as flexible as it is?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the main challenge is just to fit that many keys on an iPhone and still have it usable in a good way. So the 64 keys, this 8x8 layout, is basically just the max of this range, what you can set up. So that's basically the main keyword here, right? Flexibility. So we just made it that you can do it the way you want it to look like, from an 1x1 to an 8x8 layout and anything in between. So on an iPhone, of course, as Phil said, not really recommended to go with the 8x8 because your keys will be small and you need very good aim to touch them. But you can also go with an, let's say, 3x6 or a 3x7 layout, whatever fits your purpose best. So that's what we wanted to do here. And we went with that big number, the 8x8 layout, because we wanted to give the users that full flexibility on our biggest screen canvas on the iPad, which is one big focus of the whole redesign. So before Stream Deck Mobile 2.0, we didn't have a native iPad app. It was basically just the iPhone app scaled in 2 times as large. So with that update and the native support, we really make use of that big screen of the iPad, and 64 keys just look great on that canvas.
I think you could even go with more keys. I mean, you could probably even get more on there if we wanted to. One cool thing that I think that also came out of the iPad support is the fact that you can actually have, like 128 keys, right? And then we even discovered is it you can do a stage manager, like 3 virtual layouts for even more keys.
Yes, and we basically just discovered that by accident when we already were live. But I mean, I think the main way users would use it is have 2 windows of Stream Deck Mobile side by side and connect them to 2 different computers if they like. So that's also one big update that we shipped here. And just have basically 2 8x8 keypads side by side and use them completely independently from one another.
Now, that also leads into this idea of these virtual devices, where essentially you can have an iPad, for instance, act as if it's 10 different Stream Decks as you switch in between them. What was the thought process behind developing that particular aspect? Was it to enable 2 separate Stream Decks on iPad?
That's one part of the story, I would say, but also here again, that whole flexibility. So we just wanted to lift any kind of restrictions that we had previously. It doesn't really matter from a technical perspective if you have 1 virtual iPad or virtual Stream Deck or 10 virtual Stream Decks act on your iPhone or iPad. So we just removed that restrictions and gave that opportunity to the user to choose what they want to do with that power. And with that also comes that you can, on the iPad, at least with the split screen, you can connect with 2 different virtual devices to 2 different computers if you like, which is pretty great. So that's something we didn't have before. Have basically 1 hardware that you can connect to 2 different computers at the same time.
Yeah, actually, for our 2 PC streaming folks out there, while we were developing this and when we kind of thought of that use case, I was like, oh, hey, we finally have a Stream Deck that you can connect to 2 PCs at the same time and control both, right? If you have a gaming PC and a streaming PC. That was kind of another cool little side effect of being able to have those 2 connections and those 2 virtual devices at the same time.
Another change with 2.0 is the new lifetime subscription. Can you talk about why we decided to offer that now?
Oh yeah, so that's also quite simple, just because we listen to our users. So users have been telling us since day one, please give us a lifetime option. We want to buy this similarly as we would buy a hardware Stream Deck in the store. Just pay once for it and that's it. So yeah, easy thing, just added it.
Okay.
I think internally we're also big fans, right? I mean, I know that for myself, I love I think the most, I've even bought a pretty expensive app. I think it was Flighty. It's like one that does like flight tracking. Their lifetime option is $200. I ended up actually buying that, right? Instead of subscribing. So it's a lot of money, but with, the stuff that I do, I travel a lot. And so over the number of years, it's worth it. So again, even for Stream Deck Mobile, right? If you have that option now for lifetime, it's really great. If you see yourself using it 4 or 5, plus years, then just get the lifetime option. So it's nice that we can offer that. What was for the pricing there? Do you know kind of, because I think it's what, $40? Is that right? It's because we could have also made it 100 or 50 or 60. Was there a particular thinking there, around like, okay, if you use it for like 2 or 3 years at a yearly price, then this is kind of a nice in between or something like that?
Yeah, so that's a little bit of financial calculations that go into this and how long our users stick around. I'm actually here not quite sure if we want to put this on the podcast, to be honest, but the thinking here was 2 years of a yearly annual subscription is the price for the lifetime subscription. And basically we did some calculations there and looked at our numbers of the user retention, how long do they stick around usually, and what's a good break-even point.
I do want to add on a little bit to this, because one question we've had, if we're really talking about some of these more interesting questions from the community, there's this idea that I already bought a Stream Deck. Shouldn't I get Stream Deck Mobile for free? I mean, if we're talking about sort of that same type of question, the fact is a lot of work went into Stream Deck Mobile. And yes, you have a Stream Deck, but like all the updates for Stream Deck in general are free. The same Stream Deck you bought in 2017, besides not having dials, has all the same functionality in 2023. And I think the same is true for Stream Deck Mobile.
Yeah, I think that's in general a problem with the digital products in general, that people don't really, because you can't touch it, maybe they don't or tend to not really see the value and the work that goes into it. In general, so making this app free because you already bought a hardware Stream Deck is, well, you wouldn't expect someone to give you a car because you already bought a different car or something. So that's how I see it, at least. But anyway, what we also did with this update is actually give away Stream Decks for free, but just not the large one that you maybe expect. But actually, Stream Deck Mobile is totally free, no questions asked, for a smaller amount of keys right now, and without the custom faceplates. But yeah, anyone listening to this, if you don't yet have a Stream Deck or Stream Deck Mobile, just go to the App Store and download it. You can, use Stream Deck, try it out. 6 keys, no registrations or anything. Forever, do it.
That's good marketing. That's actually
right there. Yeah, I mean, you're basically getting a Stream Deck Mini for free, right, with the 6 keys, and then you can explore some of the other options, see if it's working. It's great if you have another mobile device laying around. Some folks do have like an older, if you have an older tablet that you're not using anymore, or if you do just want to have your phone up, you can use it for that. But Brett, you mentioned earlier that, okay, if you just update the software, you might not have dials like you do with Stream Deck Plus. Is that something, though, that we might see on Stream Deck Mobile one day? Some other input methods, right? Because obviously we have keys today, but mobile gives us that flexibility, as you're saying, of trying new things. And are we going to get to see new things?
Definitely. There's not too much I'm comfortable sharing yet at this point, but it's definitely something users can look out for and be excited for. The dials in particular that you're talking about from the Stream Deck, this is pretty hard to just translate one-to-one to a mobile device, because there you really have this haptic feedback of like turning a dial, you feel it clicking basically. And on mobile, the best you could do is sliders that translates it to. But we're not quite happy with that approach either, because our dials, they are endless. Sliders do have a beginning and an end, so it also doesn't quite translate. We're not a big fan of this circular motion translation either to mobile. But there are different opportunities that we can choose or do.
It reminds me a little bit of the, I don't know if you guys remember, a number of years ago, I think Microsoft still sells it. They have the dial that you can put on a screen.
Oh,
right?
for the Surface Studio, I think.
Yeah,
right.
the Surface Studio. So it's it's a physical dial that you can put on the screen and then it shows it. Because obviously, if you're on a touch screen, like rotating is not gonna you're not gonna get the same thing. But there are a lot of cool ideas, like even for on-off toggles, right? Like if you imagine a light switch that you press the top, you press the bottom, you could have just a really nice visual way of like showing that. Or like
Exactly.
you said, faders. I don't know. There's you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of different
Videos,
ideas.
for example, you can do different sized keys. You can do, I don't know, completely different controls that are not really possible on the hardware, but are on a mobile device. So yeah, there might be also extensions to the Stream Deck SDK in the future for only mobile specific controls, for example.
Yeah.
But that's gonna take some more work.
That's pretty exciting, especially since with a screen, you can sort of make whatever interface you want. You're not limited by hardware, or can you actually manufacture it? We did have a couple questions that we received a lot when Stream Deck Mobile 2.0 launched. And I think you know the one I'm about to ask. Android.
Yeah. Android. We are trying to start this for quite a while now. That's the honest answer. We are a very small team here, so we need to prioritize accordingly. And I think our users know that Stream Deck Mobile is not the only Elgato app that we have. We actually have 7. Now we actually have 8 because we recently launched the Elgato Capture app on iPad as well. So this is a lot of work for my very small team and myself. So yeah, we're just prioritizing right now and trying to start this as soon as possible.
And I do want to make it clear, I'm an Android user, so I would like
I figured
Stream Deck Mobile on Android for life.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Elgato, the iPad capture app. So we'll have to have you back on the next episode then to talk a little bit about that as well. Or maybe we'll have Raphael on as well. But we've addressed the topic also on our live stream quite a bit, right? Because we do get this question so often. What about Android? What about Android? In some cases also even like, what about Linux? You know, for some more on the desktop side. And we've addressed this so much that really it's just a matter of resources for us. We don't have huge teams. Like you said, even before you came on board, we didn't even really have a mobile team. It was mostly just people internally who were like, yeah, I kind of can do this here. Let me, let's try it. So
exactly. But I mean, with the number of topics, there's also more urgency to get more people on board. And we're certainly going to have a bigger team, hopefully rather sooner than later. And then, this should get more traction. And since we already did it for iOS, it shouldn't be that much of work for Android as it was for iOS.
Shouldn't be.
Fingers crossed. I probably jinxed it right now. Let's see. But you're not forgotten, Android users.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm really looking forward to it. This question is, can we use Stream Deck Mobile without Wi-Fi, just connecting it USB to my computer? Is that even possible?
Very soon. You can very soon. I think, Phil, you already had the prototype on the TwitchCon in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, so we were so obviously at conventions, we know that Wi-Fi sucks. It always breaks down. There's way too many signals. I think, in fact, as a little side note here, but I was looking at our router dashboard, and I want to say we had around 100 devices connected just in our TwitchCon booth. So that was between all of the staff there and all of the different devices. And, obviously there's thousands of attendees around. So Wi-Fi is just generally not a good option. And we were using an early version of the USB connection, which I think is really exciting just to have that, because, again, if you have a device you're not really using that much and you want to kind of permanently use it as your Stream Deck, then if you connect it via USB, you just know it's going to work 100% of the time, right? Like, let's be honest, Wi-Fi can have issues. And of course, you want it to work all the time, but it can mess up. And so with USB, you just have that guarantee that, yep, it'll work all the time. It seemed to even work, and I don't know if this is official, but it seemed to even work with just a USB 2.0 cable. So I don't know. But that's really promising.
I think it doesn't really matter,
Especially since with Wi-Fi, you're lucky to get USB 2.0 speeds, I think, a lot of times with interference. So a guaranteed like 400-ish megabits per second. Probably still pretty good for USB.
Yeah. And anyway, I mean, if you use your iPhone as a Stream Deck, you probably have it on a cable anyway, because it's going to drain energy if you have it display on all the time. So yeah, that's also one reason why we did this whole rewrite from scratch, is to just improve the connection stability and the internet, so the local network connection stability in general. And we basically rewrote the way the network communication works already in mind, the USB use case. So yeah, making that jump was not that much of a work right now. The only thing that we're working on right now, before we can get it shipped, is how to properly communicate it to the user, that they learn, in addition to Wi-Fi, you can now also do this, and you don't need the Wi-Fi anymore, and how to display it. So there's few minor things that we need to adjust in the app, but then it's good to go to the users.
Cool. Yeah, I think that'll be a pretty big hit for people who, again, like are using it in some sort of really crowded environment, like maybe not quite a convention, but an apartment complex would have lots of Wi-Fi interference, so that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, or the business networks also, they usually have some weird setups where the Wi-Fi connection is never stable or can't really be established, and that will really be a game changer. Universities also, they usually have some restrictions that the students can't connect any devices wirelessly in that network. So
yeah, blame multicast for that. Multicast packets, the bane of our existence. If you're on that enterprise network, I mean, even at our own, we had to, at the Corsair office, right? We had to make a new separate Wi-Fi network just to test Stream Deck Mobile, just to test even like key lights, because of course all that stuff is disabled for performance reasons. So yeah, that's always fun. So that's coming soon-ish, maybe. Yeah.
Soon-ish. Yeah, it's gonna take a few more weeks due to the Capture app, and some things we need to clean up there. But it's in the pipeline. It's 90% done, and anyone who's a software engineer knows that it's only gonna take a few more weeks.
Nice.
So one last topic was that I skipped over was how the pairing process was improved compared to the original Stream Deck Mobile. Frankly, don't remember the original pairing process at this point because it's been many months. Could you talk a little bit about some of the improvements there?
Definitely. So the original way was to basically open a QR code on your desktop and scan it with your phone. And that basically then established a connection. And what we wanted to do there is to just make it as easy as possible. You should only have Stream Deck running and your mobile phone in your hand, and it should just show the device automatically. So that's how it's working right now in an ideal scenario where you don't have any network restrictions and configurations there that prohibit that from working. So for 95% of our home users, this should work really well. So you just tap on your computer, and there will be a dialog on your desktop asking you if you trust that mobile device, and then you just hit trust and you're good to go. Speaking of which, we also spent quite some time on making the whole communication much safer. So you can't play any kind of replay attacks on the device, or like hijack your computer, basically, if you sniff the network. So that's impossible right now as well. Yeah, so that's the pairing process improvement in a nutshell, yeah.
Besides the USB thing, is there anything else that we can kind of look forward to? Or are there any like ideas in the team that you're kind of currently looking to explore? I think we had talked internally about some stuff around, the keys, like maybe the border customization, right? Around like, or maybe you could do on the backgrounds, you could have like more gradients. I mean, anything like that. Obviously, all in the context of, all of this is maybe it'll come, maybe not, right? And nothing's guaranteed, but...
Of course, yeah, that's all the big disclaimer. Here, Apple Watch is something we're looking into, which would be, I think, pretty nice if we get it to work. Yeah, of course, then cosmetic stuff like nice borders and customizations. We definitely want to improve the Siri performance, so that feature is not really working as reliably as we wanted to, so we want to spend some time there. And also with iOS 16, there are new widget improvements. So we have interactive widgets now where you don't need to open the app anymore in order to interact with it.
That would be very cool, yeah.
Yeah, interactive widgets. That's what I mean. Sorry, I just confused two things. Yeah, interactive widgets is the feature. So, yeah, but essentially it's the same thing. So we're looking just into what actually can we do here, what brings purpose to the users.
So what you're saying is that eventually with my Apple Watch, I can have 64 Stream Deck keys on here and I can, tap between them, something like that.
Yeah. You got to swipe between each separate key.
Yeah.
You have this on the Apple Watch where you have the overview of all your apps. I mean, that's also working. Mm-hmm. So maybe something into that direction, but let's see.
That would be very cool. Yeah, definitely as a Apple Watch user and as a nerd in that sense, I would love to have something like that. That would be really nice.
That was all the questions I had for Christiana.
I guess, is there anything that you would want to share with our community, Christiana? Anything that, I mean, we already kind of talked about some of the ideas that are floating around. Anything to look forward to?
I think I basically shared everything that we have in the pipeline that's shareable right now. Apart from that, so we just want to let everyone know that we read your feedback. So I read every single App Store review.
Every single one. Every single one.
Yeah. So you're being heard and you have great ideas. So please don't stop sharing them with us ever, because that's what makes our products great, I think, at the end of the day.
And next up, with Thomas, we're going to talk about the macOS capture device utility.
So with the capture device utility, we actually offer access to advanced settings of our capture devices on macOS finally. So those settings are accessible in third-party those settings are the ones that are not accessible in third-party software. So you can, for example, switch the audio input between HDMI and analog audio, change the EDID mode, USB transfer mode, or control features like the HDMI color range and HDR tone mapping. And of course, another important function is the option to update the firmware. So that was something that was not possible before on macOS for the HD60X.
Now, I think it goes on to say that a lot of those are really quite advanced options. So I think unless you know what you're doing, or you do need to, maybe our support team told you to change them or something like that, you probably don't want to, right? I mean, there's like the RGB color range, you generally want to leave that alone. I think the one that will be most used, right, would be the analog and HDMI audio switch if you're using ChatLink or ChatLink Pro.
Exactly. It currently supports all our UVC-based capture devices, so namely the HD60S Plus and the HD60X. So just for the sake of completeness, so UVC stands for USB Video Class and is a standard for video devices. So it is supported by most of the video applications. And probably those who have been at the TwitchCon in Las Vegas or heard the news from there already know that we are also launching HDMI 2.1 capture devices. So I do not reveal too much when I tell that the next version of the software then will also, of course, support the new 4KX.
So then I think that leads into what the software can't do yet. And that is, while it's called capture device utility, it does not capture.
Exactly. So besides that, also a few settings are not implemented yet, but we already have them in our backlog. So for one of them is the option to adjust the gain of the analog audio input. And we also want to offer more options for the advanced users for EDID, so that you can choose custom EDIDs, and also more information about the incoming HDMI signal is something we plan to add. But as you said, more obvious though is certainly that the capture device utility is currently only a companion app to control device settings, but it does not have its own video preview or recording. So you use it to configure the device and then use, for example, OBS for recording or live streaming.
Is recording coming to, is that kind of in the vision of this software, or are we taking a different approach? How are we thinking about that?
So as soon as we talk about features like preview, recording, and things like that, I would no longer see that as a capture device utility. It's then no longer a utility, then it's a full-fledged software actually. So the decision would be a bigger one. I think it's not just adding features and features and features there, but think about, is that still just a settings utility, or do we need something else on Mac?
I think the reality is also there, for our listeners, if you're going, well, okay, you should just make it a full recording app, right? You already have it on Windows, right? You have the 4K capture utility software there. On Mac, you should just have parity. The reality is also somewhat that, again, I don't know, maybe this will be before or after, right? But we have a small team that is working on all of these, and the majority of our customers are going to be on Windows, where we also initially needed that HDMI like 2.0 capture and like 4K encoding and all of that support back when we launched the original 4K card. What I'm basically getting at is that there are also great software like OBS, which we in fact are using right now, to record on Mac. And in fact, it'll give you a lot more options, a lot more flexibility than even something that we would offer, right? I mean, what we would do is, if anything, give you something to just get up and going pretty quickly, but even OBS can do that these days. And it'll, they do, HDR capture by now, which actually I think we're still looking at on the Mac side of things a little bit. But, you can do your, full 4K 60 there, or 4K 30 in the case of 4K 60X. And then also there's, we launched the iPad capture app, which, we are also tinkering around with, because as you guys know, on Apple makes their stuff kind of universally usable. So we're looking at if we can, move that over onto the Mac side as well. Maybe, right? All of this is a little bit up in the air still, no guarantees, but we already have this thing running on iPad, and maybe we can just move it over to Mac. Maybe it's just that simple. We'll have to see.
Yeah, we still have to see. So it's definitely something we are looking into because as you mentioned, Christiane and her team recently launched the capture app for iPad OS, and that is actually a good example. And I remember, I think I explained it in a similar way in episode 1 when the question came up about a recording feature in Camera app. So whenever there clearly is a demand and our software can make a difference in terms of the feature or the user experience, then we will do it. And the Elgato capture app for iPad OS now actually is a good example for how easy and quick it could be to do recording in an app. So yeah, definitely something that we are looking into, and I think there is a demand, and there can be better user experience for recording compared to how it works in OBS those days.
Yeah, so we're still looking into the capture side of things, but we've got some promising directions. But again, none of this should be taken as, oh, there is something coming. Again, there's a lot of factors that go into, if and when, we put out some software.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, the capture device utility is, it does everything it needs to do and pretty much nothing more. I think it's probably fair to say. With OBS and this program, you can do just about everything with a particular product, except I think HDR recording. So HDR recording works in OBS from, say, an HD60X, but on Mac, something with, I forget the details.
Kind of a tangent there. Yeah, we can actually kind of go on a tangent there a little bit. It turns out that, and I didn't know this, but as we were doing some research, and maybe Thomas, I don't know if you had dug into a little bit more as well, but it turns out that Mac doesn't support the P010 format. And so it's simply, there's no, and that's like I guess maybe it's more of a Windows format or something. But
that's the 10-bit
essentially
color mode.
Yeah. And so that is what the devices output, and macOS simply just doesn't have that as a built-in supported format. So OBS can work with it, OBS can understand it, but the Mac, and because Mac works a little bit differently, it just doesn't show that to OBS as like, hey, you can take this from the HD60X. That's kind of my understanding of why HDR recording isn't actually available at the moment and I think like most capture devices on Mac, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between how it is implemented in Mac and Windows. On Windows, it's a little bit easier to directly access what your driver or what a UVC device supports, while on macOS, there is one layer in between where the operating system does a lot more with the video, chooses the formats on its own and things like that. So we cannot actually change that. So it then depends on when Apple supports it.
Well, there you go. There's your answer, everyone. But hopefully Apple or OBS, the OBS team is able to figure something out. I know Apple's been a little bit involved in the OBS development, like the native ProRes encoder. I think that was in partnership with Apple, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So there's potential there for them to work through it. Okay, and I think that's just about everything with the capture device utility. I would like to do a video walking through how to use that, but a lot of other things on the radar, such as Camera Hub 1.7 and 1.8. So Camera Hub 1.7 added, it was primarily Epoch Cam changes, I believe. And so we have a full video talking about Epoch Cam, and actually in the regular flashback episode, we talk about some of the changes there, like the screen will automatically dim. You have pan, tilt, zoom control, manual focus, white balance, and exposure, and I think tint as well. But what I wanted to talk to you specifically was mostly about the Elgato virtual camera changes for macOS. How did it change? Because part of the release notes was it had better compatibility with certain applications. Can you explain what exactly that means?
Sure, I can do. So it might sound like a smaller change, so for better compatibility, but for macOS, we completely overhauled the virtual camera to improve compatibility with third-party software. So it's now implemented as a system extension based on Apple's Core Media I/O framework, which is available since macOS Monterey 12.3, if I'm not mistaken. This integrates much better with the operating system and makes our virtual camera available in even more apps. At the same time, it's also ideal foundation for us for adding more video processing features to the Camera Hub in the future. And so just to complete that, before it was implemented as a device abstraction layer, so some might know that, a Dell plugin. That was just the old way how to implement it. And now we are on the more modern framework.
So then finally, let's talk Camera Hub 1.8 and Prompter. So we released, I guess officially released Prompter. I mean, we teased it for months, I think. It was at TwitchCon Paris, right?
Well, we showed it public. Yeah, Prompter is an interesting case, and like, some products you really keep close to your chest and you just never show it until like the release day where you drop it. And some products we will, and this is, every company does a little bit differently, but at Elgato, we tend to play it fairly loose. And over the years, if you've ever paid attention to some of our like booths and displays and stuff like that, we'll pretty much just put our stuff out there that we're working on, really because we want to get it out and kind of test it and have real people using it. And that's what we did with Prompter. So we showed Prompter for the first time at TwitchCon in Paris, and it was in the Stream Pod. People started using it there, and they were absolutely loving it. That was the first time we were also really showing it to partners. And of course, we got the questions, what is that new product? And we, kind of had to play dumb a little bit. Like, it's just, it's like something we bought off Amazon or whatever. But yeah, that was Prompter. And
which
now
sometimes
it's here, and
is the answer. Like, we get questions about sometimes we'll just do like a little desk setup or something, and someone will ask, "Oh, what's that?" Like we just grabbed it off Amazon. Sometimes that's.
But of course, Prompter, being hardware, came with a full suite of software support in the Camera Hub 1.8 update. So Thomas, what did we get for Prompter in Camera Hub 1.8?
So in Camera Hub 1.8, which we also released mid of October together, of course, with the product launch of Prompter, we not only added the device support for prompter, but also, of course, came with some features. And the first one, which probably everybody expected, is the text prompting. So we have a text editor. You can prepare your script there. You have chapters and some settings for how the content is being displayed on the prompter. So you can adjust your font size. You can adjust the margins, how fast the text should scroll, and et cetera, et cetera. I think the other feature, the other major feature, the chat was maybe more surprising because it's kind of a unique feature. So you can add a Twitch chat. So you add the channel to the software, and we read the chat and we bring it to the prompter with emotes and everything. And what's new about that is the combination of a prompter and the chat. So literally, when you look at the chat and you interact with the chat, you have this natural eye contact now, which is, I think, a massive feature. And so we are already getting a lot of feedback from the field about those two features. And we continue. My list here actually is extending every day.
Yeah, with the chapters, I mean, I think one of the earliest feedback I gave was I want to be able to drag, just reorder chapters and whatnot. I think we got some other really good ones. One really interesting use case that we actually just heard of kind of for the first time, or at least it was for me, was while you're speaking, in fact, doing a podcast like this, maybe having your notes being taken down as you're talking. And that's actually possible today already. If you select a chapter and you, at least on Windows, hit Windows, I think it's Windows key H, it opens the voice, just voice recording, and it'll take that as a voice note. And the notes are just text. So you can actually, in your chapters, even like Notepad, just have that go down, which that's pretty cool. I like that idea quite a lot, actually.
Yeah. And it does not only simplify the process of adding text while you speak, I think it's also exactly it depends on what you prepare, but if you are preparing a script and you read it like you talk, then I think it's actually the best way to prepare that. You talk as you usually talk. It's the most natural thing, instead of writing text where you might write it a little bit different than you usually sound like.
Phil, checking your watch.
Yeah, I unfortunately have a little bit of a time limit, so I might need to leave you folks here at this point, actually.
That's all right.
But I'm sure there's lots of other topics to discuss. So at this point, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll be on the next episode.
See you soon.
Yeah, right. I do need to go at this point. Yeah, so you guys can just go and discuss. So yeah, I'll send you the recordings, Brett.
All right.
Okie dokie. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Phil.
Obviously, we launched it with Twitch support for TwitchCon, but what about support for other platforms like YouTube?
I'm hearing that feedback, of course, also a lot, not only about the other Twitch, the other streaming platforms, but also to receive chat from multiple channels, for example. So yeah, certainly those things are on the list. No specific date yet, but yeah, it should not be only Twitch there, and there will be also more features related to the chat feature.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Phil brought it up, but what sort of text editing changes could we expect for Camera Hub?
I think it's in different regions of that feature. So first of all, in text editing, I think there are a lot of formatting things that are still missing. For example, like you have different font sizes within one script, like headers or also bullets and all those things. But then also how the text is presented. So, for example, we heard about feedback to have a line spacing setting, or to also adjust the vertical margin, things like that. And then related to chapters, so one was already mentioned, reordering the chapters, also within one chapter to insert a new one, or when you, for example, have text prepared somewhere else and you paste it into the software, that it automatically just splits it into different chapters. All those things we are hearing a lot, and you can expect that one of the next updates will be around quality of life improvements for the text feature and the chat feature.
And then a couple others here. the ability to turn on and off the prompter display.
Simple.
Yep.
It's missing. We will add that certainly.
All right.
Yeah.
And then this one, I know there's been some discussion about it internally, but just for the record here in the podcast, the ability for prompter to adjust the placement of text, or basically follow my voice, I think is the term that people use.
Yeah. Voice tracking is also what I sometimes hear. So that is a huge and really great feature we are also looking into. Of course, everyone can probably understand that this is a more complex thing. So therefore, we cannot really promise when it will be in, but it's certainly something we are looking into, because that is really helping a lot when you're working with a prompter, that it just automatically adjusts to how fast you speak, and you have this dynamic speed adjustment for your text scrolling then.
I'm not a developer, but it sounds complicated. So I can only imagine.
Yeah, a few other requests are also coming, maybe also related to the text, simple things like just marking where the current read position is, or to also change the position where you read. So usually the default is you read in the middle. I heard some experienced prompter users also do that within the upper part of the screen. So they are asking to have an option to also adjust that. Another feature I'm hearing a lot about is putting the camera video on your prompter. Just so for the last confidence check before you go into the stream or a video call. So I'm also using prompter a lot for video conferencing, and I mean,
right
Camera
now.
Hub wouldn't be Camera Hub if it could not also show a camera preview on your prompter. Also on the list, of course.
Yeah, we'll do it live. I can't. Okay, I'm trying to not cover my face with the phone here, but yeah, we're using prompter right now. I'll insert this in the video, and yeah, there you go. We use it. We use it ourselves to create this content.
Yeah, I mean, we all know how important eye contact is in real life, and we meanwhile also learned actually to adjust our setup to get that in video conferencing, but really with the prompter. And that was also what I found when I started using it, is that is a different level. So that is natural eye contact. So for everyone who has not seen it yet, I can just ask you to watch one of the videos from the people who have a prompter already, or if you have the chance, go to one of the conventions where we show the prompter and try it out. It's a different thing.
That'd be really neat if we were able to have a prompter set up at a store, because we have certain displays in certain stores around the country, at least around North America. But having a prompter set up with like maybe a camera in it, with the live camera feed right on prompter, like you were talking about earlier, I think that would really sell the idea, because that was something
so you can look yourself into your eyes.
yeah, which you really only experience with a mirror, but with prompter, and well, I mean, it is a mirror. Sorry, it's beam splitting glass. I think someone had was a little bit pedantic about that before, but it is a similar effect, but you're able to have a camera in there to get pretty accurate, eye contact. So
Absolutely.
I think that's about it for Camera Hub 1.8 and Prompter. We'll talk more about Prompter and the experience with showing that off at TwitchCon later in the episode, when Phil is available again. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule of adding more things to Camera Hub to come on and talk about Prompter and Camera Hub. I've said Camera Hub a lot of times today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me again. It's always really, really fun to join the show here.
Shh, don't say anything. Just keep going.
Nothing at all. Okay, I'll mute myself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've already talked for quite a long time, but finally, TwitchCon Vegas. and
Ooh.
and the new thing we unveiled. Well, not at Vegas, but a couple days
Released
before.
the day before.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Day,
Yeah,
day
pretty
before.
much.
Yeah,
Okay,
day
I
before
guess
we
so.
got there, I guess.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, personally, it was my first TwitchCon, first time in Vegas
Really?
as well. Yeah.
Like your
Okay.
first. Oh, I thought you had been to a TwitchCon before. Okay. Yeah.
No, no, just PAX was basically the conventions I've been to. So it was the second
Okay.
event I had worked at. Obviously I've visited other conventions over the years, but I quite liked it. Obviously, it was a ton of work, which I'm sure
Oh,
all of
yes.
us will commiserate with. But
Yeah. Some long nights. Long nights / early mornings.
yeah, late mornings too.
Yeah, there you go.
But that was 3 days. The other one I worked at was PAX East. That was 4 days, I believe.
That is 4, I believe, yes.
And even though that fourth day at PAX East, I was like, I'm can't wait to go home. With the amount of work that goes into building that booth, which was humongous, right?
40 by 90, I believe that's what it was.
You kind of want it to last a little bit longer to take advantage of all the work that went into it.
Sure, yeah.
So anyways, that's just my feelings on it. It was really fun. Things went pretty smoothly, I think, just given all the things going on.
Yeah, I can give a few numerical stats there. I think we had a total of 41 monitors in the booth, and each one of those monitors had some sort of setup attached to it.
So essentially, we had like what, 35 plus interactive displays.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So we had, we had six prompters, which, we'll talk about in a minute. 3 camera bar setups, 4 lighting bar setups. A 12 station Stream Deck bar. We had a marketplace area. Each had their own monitor and setup. We had our own stream pod. We had an audio bar, which they all had their own setup. So yes, it was quite a lot of work, and it's while that that first setup day was a doozy, if I do say so myself. It ran like a very well-oiled machine. Like, we had maybe one hiccup with one of the the smaller PC, like the mini PCs we were using, but it within an hour it was back up and running flawlessly. So,
And in the end, I mean, we put a lot of, like, the planning for this starts months in advance. And we really try to think of how do we show off the products in their best light to you there. We really want, you as an attendee. And if you went to TwitchCon, leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of the booth. If you didn't go,
please
still let us
do.
know what you think of the booth. I'm sure we could throw some B-roll or something.
yeah, if you saw some photos, or like Phil just said, Brett, maybe throw some B-roll up in between these little snippets here.
I mostly captured it during the build setup, which
got it. Okay.
I think we'll have some footage, but
maybe we'll find you something.
it is truly, in every sense of the word, a labor of love, because I think if you don't love what you do and you're out there and we're putting in these hours to really put on a great show, then kind of what are you doing out there? But it really lets us, for a lot of you folks, it's the first time that you get to see a product forever, ever hands-on, especially something like Prompter, which is so new. Getting an idea for the scale of it, how big is it, what does it look like looking into it. Obviously that was really important for us to be able to show that,
and
just how great the experience is.
You can't really understand Prompter completely from a spec sheet as well.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That was the thing that was really interesting to see, because I had seen and used teleprompters before in a moderate amount. So I already knew the visual. In fact, we're using Prompter right now to record. Hey, you in there. So we kind of are used to the effect that it has, but seeing people walk up to Prompter and be like, hold on a second. I'm seeing...
Where's the camera?
I'm seeing chat.
I think that's what I heard the
text,
most.
Yes.
But also...
but where's the camera? It's in there? I can't...
Yeah.
Where? Yeah, exactly.
Where is it?
Yeah.
So that's always cool.
But it was those shows are always great. I mean, PAX, same, but it's always incredibly. I think I forget who put it best, but they said that these shows make it real for us, because obviously we're working on these products, and some of us are in an office, some of us are remote, and to be able to talk to you guys in our community and just meet face to face, hear from you what you love, or in some cases very passionately don't love about our products. I also heard my fair share of, hey, this didn't work and that didn't work, and could you make this better? And we want to hear it all. But getting to do that face to face is always really, really cool. And again, also seeing the reactions to all of the products, and just having some great discussions about either the products or even just the state of streaming, or some of the other stuff at the show there. It's always a really good time. And I would echo what Brett said, which is that it's a little, even 3 days feels a little bit too short at that point for all that effort we're putting in.
Yeah.
I would love to almost do more. That being said, I was actually at Gamescom early in the year, and that was a little too much. That was like 12-hour days for 5 days in a row, standing around and talking, which that can be tough. That can be really tough. But
no amount of carpet
is
enough.
No, not at all. So yeah, TwitchCon was awesome. We'll be, I think it's okay to say that, we'll be at the next ones for the foreseeable future. We'll be there. So, if you're at the next EU one, which I don't know where that one will be. And hey, if you're at the next one in the US, which we also don't know where that one will be.
It won't be Vegas, confirmed.
I'm
okay
thankful
with
for
that.
Yeah.
Confirmed by Mr. Clancy himself.
But no, that was an
Vegas.
awesome show. We did tease, we also teased our HDMI 2.1 capture cards. So, those pictures are out there, which was also pretty cool. And I don't know. It was just a great show. A lot of love, sweat, and, or was it
blood, sweat, and tears?
Blood, sweat, and tears. Love, sweat, and tears. Same thing, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was one of, if not the biggest booth we've done in.
It was certainly the
North
biggest. It was
America?
90 by 30. 90 by 30
Yeah,
feet.
90 by 30, or and it was just a monster. But it all came together in the end, and I don't think, I think everyone was extremely pleased with our presence and our activations. And then like Phil said, whether they love our products or they like to see something change with our products, everyone appreciated us being there, and just showed some great support. Like at one time I looked around and I was like, is there like a meetup or something going on like at the front of the booth? And someone was like, no, just people are starting to congregate like on the outside of our booth. It's just, here's a crowd. So
it did feel like at some points it became almost like the spot to just hang out.
Yeah,
and we even had creators, like awesome creators like Harris Heller, just kind of hang around all day, which is pretty cool. I mean, I think we did pay to get him out there, and we paid to have a meet and greet, but for a lot of the other stuff we didn't pay him, so thanks for hanging around, Harris. No, we love you. But it was really nice to see the just the community reaction. And again, one day we'll have to do like a documentary, like a road to whatever the next show is, where we just put all this stuff together, just to give a kind of a behind the scenes, because, and it might be hard to think about, but we were planning this booth while also launching Marketplace and Prompt at the same time. And it's the same teams, by the way. We don't have an events team and a this team and a that team. No, we're all the same people. Brett, Chris, and I here, we were working on Prompter till the launch day, and then the next day, and then we're like, all right, now we're flying out.
Yep.
And
a couple of the videos were exported while I was packing. I think I finished uploading one of the videos like 3 minutes before I left for the airport.
But yeah, so TwitchCon Vegas was a great time. Overall, I also it felt like a very positive show, just generally.
Yes.
I remember like
Agreed.
a year ago, the one where was that? Was it also San Diego? No, there were,
so it was San Diego, and then it was Paris in EU.
And Paris was also pretty good, but the one before that, so I guess 2022, that one didn't feel super positive. You could kind of tell there's like a vibe in the community. So this one felt a lot better. The opening keynote by Twitch was great. So yeah, really, really nice.
Yeah, and like we were saying before, this event went pretty smoothly, all things considered. There's a lot of things in motion when you have a booth this big. Not only, the amount of staff as well.
Yeah.
I think we had 35 plus as well. I don't know the exact number. It was like 35 plus people there. from all of, and at that point it was Elgato, Scuff, Origin, Corsair. Yeah, I think from the four. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing to note is, when we go to events, we're not just, the tech marketing team. Like Phil, you became a network engineer. Like you had our
Yeah.
switches, you had our Ethernet cables, you were gathering IP addresses for all the systems. You were doing all of this work, running the cables. I became a carpenter, like measuring out through the cabinets where to drill holes and what we could run cables through, and drilling circle holes that we can cable manage through. Brett, you became an electrical engineer, having to set up the stream booth and managing power outputs, and we had this awesome 360 camera that you had to manage and stuff like that. So like
I'll have to post some clips from that.
Yeah, it was such a cool little thing.
To put it in another word, we were all multi-classing at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Even with all of the, because we obviously had issues with the internet. It's a convention, so you have problems with the internet. But compared to PAX East, it was a dream, frankly. And I think a lot of that, some of that was the planning. We had a much more robust network infrastructure from our president of network infrastructure right here.
And I think just to end it kind of on events, I'd like to say, like, we got back last week from TwitchCon, and at the end of the week we had we have our first PAX Boston meeting this week. Like, it was just hitting the ground running. Like, and that puts things into perspective. Like, PAX Boston is end of March, early April. I don't know the exact date, but it's, these things are planned 3-4 months in advance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't even want to think about how, like, that F1 track that they're building in Vegas, how long they've been planning that. I mean,
and that's like next week, right?
Yeah, they're like, oh crap, we still have to pave the road. No.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah.
So
no, that's always a good time.
So then I guess, I mean, what are the highlights for us? I mean, obviously it was big booth, a lot of people, we got to meet them, but I mean, for me it was, so I ran the stream, what's the official name? Stream Pod.
Stream Pod, yep.
A couple issues with the dropped frames here and there, but yeah, what were some highlights for you all?
I think for me, it was just seeing people's reaction to Prompter, and it was exactly that. They're like, "Oh, that's cool. It's like a mirror reflection of myself." And they look at the monitor. Wait, I can see what? Doing that, and then there's that moment where it just you can see the gears kind of click into place. It just goes, and then that's how that works. It looks through the thing.
Awesome.
And that it never gets old. I mean, if you ever have the opportunity to essentially work on a product or build something, and then you put that out there and you see people reacting positively to it, there's kind of, I don't know how to describe that feeling. It's not even like euphoric. It's different. It's just an
it's a little bit
immense
of pride.
sense of,
you have pride in your products, and you get that little bit of joy when people react similarly to how you react to them.
Yep. Yeah.
And maybe in a sense, like, when you're preparing to launch it, you have to be critical about certain things to make sure that it's a good launch and a good product. And so you have this sort of mindset, everything about it. But then finally, when you get to see someone experience it for the first time, it's like a totally different perspective that you're able to watch, like, through someone else. That's what makes it kind of special.
Yeah. I think my favorite part was, and I think, I'm not going to mimic Phil, because Prompter was great, the release of Prompter and seeing everyone's reaction to it. And the amount of times, like Phil said, like, I heard, like, oh, this is amazing. I've never used them before, but I need this. Like, when do they come back in stock? Like, when are they back in stock? Like, when can I order one? And just having that. But honestly, my favorite part was how flawless just the booth operated. Like, when you do events, you take into account a certain amount of errors that come with running an event, whether it be internet or a PC that you have just crapping out on you, like, for no apparent reason, or something is just
ship. Yeah, something
exactly
arrive.
Something gets lost. Something gets lost in shipping. but everything arrived. Yes, setup day/night took a long time, but other than that, nothing broke. Everything worked as expected. You know, we did have a couple internet hiccups, but again, this is an event. You know, internet drops and issues with internet happen, but nothing had to be shut down. Nothing had to be, we didn't have to explain to anyone, oh yeah, sorry, this broke, we'll try to get it up. Like everything just worked and was interactive.
Interactive, yeah.
Yeah, everything was interactive and just an all around great time.
I think the bar there was no one had to do an emergency Best Buy run.
Yes.
Right? I don't know how many events I've been to where it's like, all right, I'm making a list. I'm going to Best Buy. Who needs a cable? Who needs a this?
Who needs a face cam? Yep.
We had everything.
I was saying that before. That's why my backpack is like 75 pounds, is I bring every cable, every charger, every adapter I could possibly need. And guess what? That comes in handy because you can only prepare so much in the initial planning. Sometimes you just need a big box of cables for whatever might come. And I think, none of us had, I guess the booth in general didn't have a Best Buy run, but I did overhear personal Best Buy runs for like a charger for their phone or something.
Okay. For a second. Still good.
They should have just came to us. I'm sure we had one or two lying around.
Yeah. I had extra chargers to bring around. So I think we'll dedicate, maybe next time we'll talk about Prompter a bit more once it's been out in the wild, because it's back order right now. But I think we covered it pretty good there. And in that case, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Chris and Phil, for joining.
Thanks for having us, Brett.
I think the 3-person crew is a good format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels good.
But that's all from myself, Chris, and Phil. Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, nothing to add here. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Oh yeah, one thing else we need before we're done with the recording.
We need like a screenshot.
We need a thumbnail face. I keep forgetting this every time.
Should I just be like, what?
That's so good.
Or what is it when you go like,
yeah.
Or should we do like, what's the like angle? Like, yeah. Okay, now you have. This is all blackmail,
Yeah.
It's like all.
Grab any multitude of those, Brett.